Okay, yeah, I'm recording.
All right, okay. Welcome, thank you, and now I can be more efficient. Welcome, thank you for coming to our second town hall. It's nice that we got the word out a little bit. It's nice to see some grown-ups in the room. We can't not acknowledge that today is 9/11. I think we can all, and it's also the high holidays for those of us who are occasionally Jewish. Certainly a time to take things seriously in a lot of respects. The presidential search for this place has already been shrouded in secrecy and strangeness. Earlier this summer, a number of us wrote to the search agency that fields the first inquiries and where you're supposed to send your stuff, and said, hey, what do we send and when do we send it? And three of us got different replies with different dates and different timelines and different stuff. But they all emphasized that there were going to be ads by Labor Day in the Chronicle of Higher Education, and that early September would be the time. And then Craig Smith, who you will meet in a moment, sent us over the official process, the policy that's supposed to be followed, that's been promulgated by the Board of Trustees. And it says that the advisory committees which is composed of at least some faculty from here, has to meet with the trustees committee even before they determine what they're looking for in a president and what the ad copy will be. Well, the advisory committee has yet to be formed. So having told us in the summer, here are your dates and this is what you should plan around, obviously made no sense. So obviously there's a lot of miscommunication already going on at that level. At a secondary level, which I found even more important, I said to them, in one of the notes I wrote, hey, when do you do the vetting? When are you going to want references? And they, in a terrifying way, said, oh, we don't want references until we have the finalists. And we don't do any vetting until we have the finalists. I think, as Craig may address in a little bit, it's become very clear that their process of not vetting until the end reduces the finalists. Maybe you get down to 3 or 2 finalists, and then you vet and discover 1 or 2 of them you've wasted your time with for 6 months because they're not who they say they are, they can't get the references they say they've got, and suddenly you're left with no choice at the end. And that has happened again and again and again in the CSU. Certainly an issue I want to raise, because I'm a notorious whistleblower on campus because of false credentials that people have. Why can't we vet at the beginning? The NCAA has lawyers who do easy vetting. It doesn't take any of us more than a few minutes to Google people and vet them. Why in a presidential search process, when we're about to hand somebody a multi-million-dollar deal and let them run a $200 million campus, are we not checking out who they are and what they are, and if the people they've worked with think they're any good? That's one side. I'm going to introduce now a number of people who are interested in talking about the issues today. Our contention, I think, out of this whole group of people who want to speak is this should be an open process, and the issues should be discussed. This should not be a high school popularity contest. Even when we meet the people, it shouldn't be who's prettier and who's taller and who speaks better. It should be who's going to get the job done best, and who really understands the issues of this campus and is willing to talk about them, rather than have somebody sneak in the door next April or May who meets us for the first time after he or she's already been hired. And that's been the history of this. And the only thing I will point out real quick, which I find to be ironic or hypocritical, or you put your own label on it, is our former president, F. King Alexander, who everyone knows I have outed as being someone whose resume was incredibly false. Even though he hung out, he got the job and stayed here for all these years. His resume was never shown to any of us while he was here. But when he went to LSU, they published his resume for the very first time, his CV, his curriculum vitae, because they wanted to justify their secret decision to hire him. And there's a big legal fight going on in Louisiana right now, where the courts have ordered the Board of Supervisors to turn over all the search records of who else applied, how the choice was made, and they are refusing to do it, because the game they played there was, we only have 1 applicant. Once they eliminated everyone else and got just down to him, they just said, oh, there were no more applicants. And they went so far, and this is what we have to fear at our end, they went so far as to take their 20-person Board of Supervisors and only meet 10 people at a time, so they would not have a quorum and they did not have to keep minutes. This is a carefully designed way of keeping their records being kept and keeping them out of the public. They did things by email and then deleted them. votes by email. They did everything they could so they wouldn't have a record. The court nonetheless ordered them to turn over the record. We want to know all the people who applied. We want to know everything you did. And so far they've resisted doing it, even though they're being fined $500 a day. It's up to about $60,000 a fine now. And even though just the other day, this Monday, the court said to them, I'm going to throw you all in jail if you don't turn this stuff over because you're in contempt of court. And then the Supreme Court there has turned down hearing the case and said, no, turn it over. So keep your eyes on Louisiana. It's kind of funny. But back to here and King Alexander, it doesn't take much to vet in this day and age. On the one hand, people can lie about credentials better because of the web. You can create a false credential and have it propagated until it seems to be real. By the same token, if you really begin to dig, you can find things much quicker than you ever could in the old days. So there's no excuse for not vetting candidates right away. And there's no excuse for not letting us know so we can vet them. We wouldn't even have to hire somebody to do it. What LSU did after we wrote to them, and because we published a blog, and after we wrote to them, is their faculty senate put out a thing and said, you know what, from now on we should all start vetting everyone, including each other. Why not? Why can't we look at our own faculty and vet? Why are we trusting anything to be happening in private? And so they're starting to do that now. They're looking at whether publications are real for teachers. They're looking at whether academic or administrators have really done what they said or came from where they said. Anyway, I bring all that up as we dig in today. So I'm going to introduce Craig Smith. Craig Smith has been chair for how many departments? Four different departments, a couple of times each here and there. He was our chair in the film department twice, or for 6.5 years. He was a two-time back-to-back trustee at the CSU Board of Trustees. This man knows better than anybody how things should be done and how they've not been done correctly. I will say, on a personal note, if anybody should step in and be president of the campus to fix things up, it ought to be Craig. But there are certainly other people who are equally qualified, and we want to encourage other people to do it. But here's someone who's been at this university for a quarter of a century. He knows everything. He knows where all the bodies are buried. And he has worked in the White House for 2 different presidents. Credentials are just beyond impeccable. If you can Google him and check him out, don't worry, you won't find anything phony. So Craig Smith, come on up, and he's in the Department of Communication Studies right now.